All I kept hearing Kevin Garnett kept saying, "You all right, you all right?" And I'm like, "I can't move." He's like, "What you mean you can't move?" I'm like, "I can't move. All I can do is talk and blink my eyes." Everybody real is not your real. It's really an opinion. And the whole world is based on opinions. After the first round, I'm like, man, forget it, I'm not getting drafted. So I went outside. I almost brought tears to my eyes. So I told my brothers, we all sitting out there, they're like, man, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm gonna make everybody pay. There was times in college I was still sleeping in cars when I come home that, I don't even really talk about, but it was a lot of hard times that, I had to deal with to get through to where I'm at now. I'm gonna use y'all before you use me. And that was my motto. I'm gonna use what I can get out of you guys so I can get to where I need to be. And if you wasn't on my page to get where I need to go, you were in my way. I turned this way and I headbutted a guy and I was just bleeding all over here. And I'm like, I'm really worried about my neck because I know that usually if I get hit in the head, everything just shut down. So once I got hit in the head and I was bleeding, they was like, "You bleeding?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I can move." I'm Marquis Daniels and this is my journey.
I know it's been a lot of speculation about my retirement and what I plan on doing next. And throughout my life, I faced many obstacles. The road has not always been clear. During those tough times, I felt alone. But I prayed and I asked God for strength. In my turmoil, God reached out to me and it revealed whatever I was going through was a part of my true destiny. It was at that moment I made a decision to stop getting in the way of God's plans because my true story of my destination was my journey.
Marquis Daniels is a former professional NBA player who has fought life-threatening obstacles to provide for his family and to achieve his personal goal as a 10-year undrafted player. But when it appeared that his career was going to get cut short, it was the spiritual teachings of his grandparents that got him through one of the worst periods of his life.
I still remember it was February 11th, 2011 actually. I caught the ball on the post up and I was turned around to make a sweep through move on Gilbert Arenas. And when I say I barely touched him, my forehead touched his shirt, like barely touched him. And when it touched him, all my ligaments and everything from my neck down, I was paralyzed for like maybe about 4 or 5 minutes, like just laying on the ground. I couldn't move, couldn't do nothing. And all I kept hearing Kevin Garnett kept saying, "You all right, you all right?" And I'm like, "I can't move." He's like, "What you mean you can't move?" I'm like, "I can't move. All I can do is talk and blink my eyes." Like, the thing about all that, like, I wasn't even scared. It was just, the whole thing I kept saying in my head was, the devil gotta try harder than this. The devil gotta try harder than this. I know this ain't it. You gotta try harder than this. And I mean, now that I look back on it, it was like, you crazy. I would've been scared, but it was just like, at that moment, just the things, my growing up and my values and stuff my grandparents instilled in me, it took over. Like, my faith is gonna be bigger than anything that the devil's trying to do right now. I mean, before I got married, I was married to God with my faith, so it didn't matter what he threw at me at that moment, I was gonna get through it. And just things that happened at that moment, it was just, I just went straight to God. Like my vision, I just focused on him. And I think that what kept me calm and helped me to get through it. My upbringing was, it was typical, I'm from Orlando, Florida. I was born in Jasper, Florida, but single mom, had a dad, he was around. Actually grew up and lived with my big mom a lot, rest her soul, and that's where I get all my church values from. And, we was in church 20 hours a day, seemed like. We go early and I wake up, it's time to go to school. My big mom, she always instilled in me, Psalms 91. She said, "The time of emergency, whenever you need something, go to that scripture." I actually have the whole scripture tattooed on my side, for something that she always put into me. She always told me I was anointed. When I was born, she actually took me down to the church and prayed over me in church. And it was just something that stuck with me just from them, seeing them in church and working hard in their faith. And, whenever times got rough, it was just like they pray and it always got through it, whatever it was. Growing up as a kid, things I enjoyed doing was, I actually started playing baseball first. Baseball, football, basketball was the last. And I just enjoyed video games. Like I said, I kind of lived with my big mom for a while, and we didn't have a TV or a radio in the house, so I had to go to my cousin's house to play video games or see TV or anything like that, because they were so into the church that it was none of that going on. My granddad, rest his soul, he was mean as all outdoors, but I mean, it's something that it helped me to understand that I didn't need social media and all that stuff to have fun. I created my own fun, go outside, play with my cousins, ride my bikes, flip, and do all that little stuff like that. But it was just stuff that I learned that you don't need a lot to have a lot of fun.
creating his own fun, Marquis would soon come to realize his newfound passion that would create the opportunity that would change his life forever.
My passion for basketball came probably about 9 or 10 years old. I used to go to the court every day and play with my older brothers, and I thought I was Allen Iverson. I used to try to cross over every time, and they take the ball from me. I go home crying. So one day I got tired of it. You know, I break the glass on the court, nobody play. I take my ball. You know, just being bad. I mean, I wasn't a good child growing up. I always was like I was second to the oldest, so it was my older brother than me, and I was kind of wanted my way because my mom would let me get my way, but the passion came from just watching them play every day and going out to the court, just learning the game, and it helped me out a lot. Playing against my brother, it made me a lot tougher because they didn't take it easy on me. I mean, I think going into my 9th grade year, I grew like 6 inches, and they would never pick me until now I'm the #1 pick. You know, I'm trying to dunk on all of them, make all of them pay for it, and I mean, it was just fun, you know, just that transition to it. My first year in high school was, it was challenging because my older brother, he had just graduated from high school and he was like LaMarr Ball before LaMarr Ball. And I didn't know it. So when I got to high school, he had already told him, my little brother's finna come here and take over all this. So I don't know why everybody's coming at me so hard while we were playing. Coach put me on freshman for one game. I had like maybe 40 points and he's like, you playing varsity? I'm like, nah, I'm on freshman, you know, with my friends. So I ended up playing varsity after that, and we ended up losing in the state finals my junior year to Miami senior. And it's a funny story. It was spring break my junior year. I was out, my mom calling me. Well, I had a beeper. She was paging me, come home. So now I come home. I see a car in my neighborhood. Like I see a Lexus, which I never saw in my life. I'm like, man, what car this is? It's a nice car. So I get in the house. I see 2 guys sitting on the couch. My mom's talking to them. I'm like, you know, I walk in. So I go to my room. My bags are packed. Come back, I'm like, Mom, where I'm going? She's like, you going to Mount Zion? I'm like, well, when? Where is that? She's like, you leaving tomorrow. So I'm like, well, am I going with them? Who are they? And so I ended up going to Mount Zion. I mean, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. It was a blessing in disguise. First, second, and third period, I didn't go to school after basketball season. It was like I did enough to make sure I can play basketball, but once the season was over, it was like school, yeah, right. Mount Zion is a Christian academy. It gave me a second chance to get my grades together, pass my ACT test. The biggest difference was structure. My mom wasn't there to wake me up. It was like maybe 12 or 13 of us lived in a rooming house, and we had to basically get ourselves up, get ourselves ready for school. I learned how to tie a tie. I mean, we woke up every morning about 4:30 to go run Duke football stadium, and me coming from Florida, it was freezing up there in North Carolina. I mean, I just wasn't ready. I probably called home probably for 2 months straight every night. Like, Mom, I'm ready to come home. I'm gonna do right. She was like, no, you staying up there. I mean, I absolutely hate it, but it was a blessing in disguise. Like I said, it got me ready for college, because when you get to college, you know, you're on your own. Deciding my school was, my mom, she didn't really have much say on it. She just was like, just go wherever you want to be at, just be happy. My mom actually didn't see me play in college like live until my senior year. She moved to, you know, North Carolina. You know, she was, you know, dealing with some street things, you know, some different values and stuff. I mean, it was kind of tough, you know, but I also knew that, you know, seeing the stuff that she did earlier when I was growing up, you know, the late nights, hearing her crying, wondering how we're gonna eat and get food and this and stuff, and supplying for me and my brothers, that was my motivation to put her in a situation to where she would never want anything again in life.
At a young age, Marquis was given the chance to start over. But in that process, he now faces a new challenge to learn what it takes to make it on his own.
I was actually getting letters when I was in Orlando, but again, I didn't know much about none of that, so I'd get the letters like, okay, all right, whatever, and just throw it to the side. And my first camp I went to was when I got to Mount Zion. That's when I started realizing that this is the #1 player in the nation. He's the and I'm like, okay, what's special about him? You know, it just kind of showed me that I belong and I could play against those guys. I think I went on a visit to, was it Iowa State? It was in like May or March, and it was snow on the ground. I'm like, I'm definitely not coming here. It was just too cold, so I ended up going to Auburn, which wasn't too far from home, and it wasn't too close. I could get home if I needed to, and if I needed to be away, I was okay, so it was actually good. The thing that was special about Auburn was, like I said, it wasn't cold. That was my main factor. Like, you know, I was in Orlando, I think I owned maybe a jacket, maybe, and a couple pair of pants, so it that was the biggest factor, just being in Auburn. Besides, that's probably one of the greatest campuses I've been on. Just being in Auburn, just around the people it was like a family-oriented situation. And I actually met my wife there, which I actually hated her when I first met her. My first year at Auburn was really trying. It was kind of a test of my faith at that time, because when I first got to Auburn, one of my brothers, a guy that I grew up with, he passed away. It was my going into that summer, and I had to go back home, and I was like, man, I'm not going back to school. You know, every time I get ready to get a chance, something happened. You know, he passed away. It was a real close friend of mine, and my wife, who I'm married now, she kept calling me and texting me like, are you coming back to school? You coming back to school? I'm like, I didn't know, because I really didn't want to go. Then another friend I knew, he told me, he's like, bro, you know what your brother wanted for you, make sure you go out and do it for him. And a couple weeks later, he passed away. And I'm like, man, what is going on? Like, all this is happening. So when I get back to school, they kicked my test scores out. So now I'm like, I got to go take this test all over again. So I didn't get into school till the second semester in January. And when I got into school, I played in one game in the Puerto Rico tournament, had like 16 points. And after that, I didn't play again until conference time. I'm like, man, I was ready to transfer. You know, my wife kept begging me, you need to stay, you need to stay. And I'm like, man, I'm better than that. I need to be playing. And whether we want to admit it or not, when you have someone that's genuinely for you, like a woman, they usually are right more than not. I mean, we don't want to admit it, but it helps out a lot when you have someone that's in your corner that's going to give you some good advice. It was just a test of my faith, and just learning to lean on to God and not, you know, put too much faith in myself, and just understand that it was a plan behind everything.
And with that faith, Marquis remained as a student for Auburn University, but it was a challenge every step of the way.
Playing sports in college, I mean, it's difficult. You know, you go in practice, it's day. You come out, it's night. Then you go straight to study hall. Then you don't get no TV. Then you got practice at 6 a.m. Then you got to come back, you got 8 o'clock class. I call that the devil. You go to that class, and then you got to go to practice after you get out of class. You walking all over campus, and you trying to juggle everything to get what you need to go. Actually, me and my academic advisor got in an argument when I got into school. She was putting me in introduction to Auburn and all that. I'm like, look, I don't like school, so I'm not taking these classes that's not going to help me to graduate. So I ended up graduating in those 3 years because I didn't go home during the summer because I knew it wasn't nothing home for me. So I took 28, 32 hours, like, just so I can get out of school and graduate, because I knew once basketball was over, I wasn't coming back. My final year at Auburn, it was a blessing for me because the first year I played the 5 and the 4. My third year I played point guard. So I kept begging Coach, please put me in my position. Let me play the wing. We played the wing, and we went to the Sweet 16. We lost to Carmelo Anthony, which eventually won the championship. They beat us by 1. And it was just, it's like, man, I can play against these guys. He's supposed to be projected the #1 player, but I'm out here having 29, 30-point games against them. So we had a great chance. We had a good run, and, you know, Dick Vitale and all those guys starting to talk about me a little more. And I always sad to say, I treated school like it was like jail almost. Like, I'm here to do my time and get out of here. Like, I'm not here I'm gonna use y'all before you use me. And that was my motto. I'm gonna use what I can get out of you guys so I can get to where I need to be. And if you wasn't on my page to get where I need to go, you were in my way. It's a use world. Most people are trying to use you for something, whether it's good or bad. So you go to college, use them to get your books and your knowledge, or whatever you need to get, because they're using you to get what they need to get out of you on the court. So why not get what you can get out of it?
Sticking to his motto, Marquis did everything he could to finish school. But preparing for the next level was going to be more than what he expected it to be.
Leading up to draft day, after that last game, it was like, man, it's my last game. Now it's like a whole nother chapter of my life. So I had to get more prepared. Like, I was coming in all times of the day, just getting shots up, trying to work out. Trace McGrady, a good friend of mine, actually was helping me out, trying to give me some ropes on what I needed to prepare for. And draft day, that was probably another test of my faith. You know, going into draft day, I'm sitting in there, my agent wanted to have a draft party, so we had the little party, and names kept going by, Until it got to the end, I'm like, after the first round, I'm like, man, forget it, I'm not getting drafted. So I went outside. I almost brought tears to my eyes. So I told my brothers, we all sitting out there, they're like, man, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm gonna make everybody pay. I don't care if they draft, the team that I end up playing for and the teams that I play against, they're going to pay for not picking me. And as soon as the draft was over, Dallas Mavericks called me and they wanted me to come play Summer League with them. So I ended up going to play for them. And Summer League was another test. I mean, the first game, I had maybe like 38 points and they were like, you can't play no more. And I'm like, what you mean? Like, this is what I'm here for. And they was like, nah, you did good, you okay, you can't play no more. And Danny Ainge called my room that morning, like, wanna come get you to Boston. You signed with Dallas? I'm like, nah, not yet. But they gave me my first chance, so I'm gonna be loyal to them. And, you know, I ended up playing with them, signing a one-year deal with them, and, you know, I was just thankful for that moment. Once I made it, you got to, like, know exactly who's for you and who's not. Because you're gonna get a lot of new cousins, a lot of new friends, and, like, you're gonna get a lot of new people that you don't even know. Like, my grandma used to call me, we'd be on the road, she'd be like, yo, cousins, Ohio want some tickets. I'm like, Grandma, I don't know them. She's like, them your cousins? I'm like, Grandma, them your cousins. Like, I don't know them, but you got to understand, but my oldest brother, he, no filter. He's gonna tell you exactly what it is. Man, we ain't getting them nothing, we don't know them. And I mean, you need actually somebody around you that's gonna do that, because no is your friend. Learning to say no is your friend, because yes, it'll kill you. As far as saying no, I think it was a blessing for me. I saw it as a blessing because you almost need a prenup for friends when you get into a certain level. Like, hey man, sign this, we gonna be friends or not. But if not, but them guys, it go from asking for 20 to 30 to 20, 30,000. Like, man, how you fix your mouth to say that? Like, but it happens, you know, and it's like, I got to the point to where if I was to give, I'm gonna give you half because you really don't need it. I'm gonna give you half of it because it's, a lot of times people have it and they rather spend your money than spend theirs. First year in the NBA, that was, man, it went from seeing everybody in college that you look on TV and you seeing them playing, you like, man. Then being on the floor with them, now it's like, you can't show that same, like, you're a fan because they see blood. Like, oh yeah, you a fan? Okay, I'm finna give you 40. They gotta go away quick. Like, I mean, the first game I played, it was against Tracy McGrady, actually. And I gotta guard him. I get in the game, he slapped me. Yeah, it's time now, little bit. I'm like, man, here we go. I mean, he scored probably a quick 10, 12 on me. But I mean, my first 2 points, it was fun. I mean, just getting out there and just realizing that it's still the same game. And from seeing all the stars on the sideline, like, you look at them like, you see them, they know your name. You're like, man, you know me? Like, you have to get over that real quick because it can take you away quick. You can get lost in it, but you have to be very mentally strong for it.
As Marquis had to quickly adjust to his new team, without warning, he was going to be given the chance that would define his position as a professional athlete.
Steve Nash gets sick one day, and coach come to me like, hey, rookie, you starting. I'm like, you know I ain't been playing, right? So Antoine Jameson was like, I bet you stop playing around now. So I used to just joke around, like, because I know I ain't going to get in until we either about to win or the game over, whatever the case may be. So I ended up starting. I had like maybe 14, 9, and 9, 18, then 25, and coach was like, hey, rookie, you always score like that? I'm like, yeah, just put me in the game. And he was like, all right, we're going to go small ball. And he started me the rest of the year. And after that year, I was the second leading scorer in the playoffs, and that's when I signed my 6-year deal after that year. So it was a blessing in disguise. Like, during that time, I would be, like, I still remember the call I got from my agent. I was standing in the hood with my friends, standing outside, and my mom, my girl, my wife at the time, we were all upstairs and sitting down there. My agent calls like, hey man, you sitting down? I'm like, nah. It's like, what? Like, man, just tell me. It's like, well, we just signed you 6 years with Dallas. I'm like, what? I mean, mind you, my mom, you know, we were still like, I mean, we were really struggling. You know, I was trying to do the best I can to try to keep my family together, but we like really was struggling. Like, there was times in college I was still sleeping in cars when I come home that, you know, I don't even really talk about, but it was a lot of hard times that, you know, I had to deal with to get through to where I'm at now. It was actually kind of refreshing to see your hard work finally pay off. And you know, the first thing I ever did was I woke up that one morning. It's like, I'm finna go get my mom a house and car. So I take her to the shop, you know, we go looking at cars. She was so easy. First car she seen, I'm like, Mom, you like these cars? She's like, I like that one. I was like, that one? Like, you don't want to look at nothing else? She's like, no, I like that one. So we ended up getting her that car, and then we went to look at a house. like, how this house look? She's like, this house like, I was like, this your house? She's like, for real? You know, you just started crying and stuff. That's the first thing I ever did was got my mom her house and car before I did anything. The reason why I felt it was so important because, like I said, I seen the sacrifices she made, you know, with not eating. I know you hungry, Mama. You know, she's not really eating to make sure that me and my brothers are eating, you know, to hearing her crying, wondering how we're gonna pay rent, send eviction notices and all this stuff. Just, you know, from her shopping at the Goodwill for our school clothes and stuff like that. Like, it was really hard for us, but she made a way and she never complained about it. You know, never talked bad about our fathers or anything, but she just made a way for me and my brothers to get where we need to be. I mean, sacrificing, taking us to practices and being hard on us, being at every game when, you know, she didn't have to do all that. But her being the parent that she is, she made sure that she was there because a lot of parents make kids feel like they owe them when they make it like, I had to do this and do that for you. You're supposed to, you're their parent. And that was something that she did and she instilled that in me now. Like, I tell my kids that now that if you make it in anything in life, you don't owe anybody nothing. You know, what we do for you, we're your parents, you're supposed to.
Being a good parent came as a challenge on its own, as Marquis would sometimes have to choose between his family and his career.
When I left Dallas, we actually had just lost to Miami in the finals. And that last game, I wasn't even gonna play in that game. My daughter was born that night. So I was at the hospital with my wife and my daughter, she's like, I'm like, I ain't going to the game. She's like, go to the game, I'm gonna hold out. I'm like, nah, this is my first child, I need to see this. So I ended up going to the game. My daughter was born, so I actually wanted to leave Dallas the year before that because, you know, me and the head coach wasn't really getting along, but Josh Howard and Darryl Armstrong taught me to stay another year. So I ended up staying another year. We went to the finals, we lost to Miami, 4-2, which I still have dreams about that. But anyway, ended up going to Indiana from Dallas for, I think it was Austin Crozier. It was a trade that they made between us two. And it was trying because you're leaving friends, people that you've been around for a while, but going to Indiana, I mean, Dallas was a great city, and now I'm going to the snow. It's freezing in Indiana, so hey, it was a big adjustment. Going into Indiana, it wasn't really looking for me to be that big player because, I mean, Jermaine O'Neal was still there, Jamal Tinsley, Steven Jackson. They still had a lot of great players there. It was just mostly for a change for me. I was going to be mostly like an X factor, like a guy coming off the bench to help change things around a little bit here and there, but they still had good quality players there. Indiana was different. That was a place that the fans were, if they was either for you or they was really against you. And when the ones that was against you, it was like, y'all think y'all all that? So it was like every night it was something, getting in some kind of trouble. And I'm like, man, I gotta stop going out and hanging out. It's like I couldn't go nowhere. People were just always bothering me, whether it was good or bad.
For 3 years, Marquis played as a vital member for the Indiana Pacers. In 2009, he moved on to play for the Boston Celtics, where he discovered his illness and the answer to the question that has followed him since the night of the draft.
I didn't know at the time, but later I found out I didn't get drafted because I had spinal stenosis. My spinal canal was smaller than most, and I was a high risk of getting injured. And I didn't know that at the time, but looking back over it, I didn't really pray or anything. I just put my focus on God. Like, you know, I always try to, even when I pray, I try to visualize His face. And I just kind of put my focus on trying to visualize His face and, you know, just understanding. I thought about my kids a lot, like I can't raise my kids like this. And, you know, that's why the devil got to try harder. You got to try harder. This ain't it. You got to try harder than this. And I just focused in on, like I say, just seeing God's face and knowing that it's joy in doing that and understanding that just having faith, you know, even though it seemed very surmountable, the injury seemed bigger than what it was, but I just had to be focused on what it was, because if I would have panicked, who knows? I just tried to stay focused on keeping my eye on Him. The preparation for that, I had surgery here at Emory. I got 3 screws and a sling in my spine right now. They had to open up my canal so it could move around a little more, but leading up to that, actually, I was feeling symptoms all through my body. Like if I hold my head up, like my arm will go numb, like just because of, I guess, the wear and tear of my spine. And I probably shouldn't have played my last 5 or 6 years, but I wanted to get to 10 years of playing. So I just was fighting through it. Like I may feel good one week and feel awful for like 2 months, but I was still trying to get through it. And a lot of people didn't know. I wouldn't say nothing about it. I was just fighting through it because I wanted to be undrafted player, play 10 years. So it was just something, a goal, personal goal that I wanted. But preparing to come back, it really wasn't bad. I didn't have no crazy rehab. I mean, all I had to do was just try to turn my head to get my motion going. And I think I went to Auburn and I was playing pickup. I made a move and I turned this way and I headbutted a guy and I was just bleeding all over here. And I'm like, I'm really worried about my neck because I know that usually if I get hit in the head, everything just shut down. So once I got hit in the head and I was bleeding, they was like, you bleeding? I'm like, yeah, but I can move. So that was the only thing I was worried about. So I ended up playing 2 more years after that, which probably shouldn't play them, but it got me to 10 years and, you know, they was like, well, you shouldn't. I'm like, man, I'm not playing no more anyways. I'm cool.
After playing 10 years as an undrafted player, Marquis decides to retire from the basketball courts and spend more time at home with his family.
After I stopped playing, my goals was to spend more time with my kids because I was playing and, you know, when you're playing and you rally home. You're with your teammates 9 months out of the year, so that's more of your family than your family. So I just want to spend more time with my kids. I enjoy taking them to school, picking them up from school, helping them with homework, taking them to practice, and, you know, because being a father in a kid's life is very important, especially when you have a little boy and little girls. Like, I take my daughter on dates. Like, I make her get dressed up and I come pick her up, bring flowers to the door, we go on a date. You know, just to show her that, you know, the things that she need to do, because I tell her ain't no Chevys or no Camaros coming here to pick you up. Like, none of that. So I just try to give her the values and show her the stuff, and also teach my son, you know, people talk to you, stand up, look them in the eye, shake their hand. You know, just give them the values and show them that things that, you know, a lot of us wish our fathers and parents would have did with us, you know, just to help them to understand that this is a cruel world out here, but you got to understand, you got to stand for yourself and stand for something at the end of the day. Like, every day I take them to school and I drop them off, I tell them I love them, make something happen, and go be great. Because if you make something happen, I don't care if it's a little bit, at the end of the day, something great's going to come out of it. If you want to know a little bit about me, I'm very approachable. I'm actually cool, I'm laid back. I try to have fun. I try to find something funny in everything. I joke all the time. Like, people get mad, like, man, you play too much. Like, man, you better smile. You never know what's gonna happen. So I always try to just be happy and just enjoy life. That's my main thing, just try to enjoy life. My advice to kids and the youth is whatever it is that you wanna do, just make sure you put 110% behind it, because one thing about the streets, it don't love you. It got 2 boxes that it's gonna put you in, either jail or hell. That's when you got to understand that everybody real is not your real. It's really an opinion. And the whole world is based on opinions, everything. I mean, if you put it all, boil it all down to it, it's your opinion versus my opinion. So you got to learn, you got to have somebody like my older brother, like, man, he ain't around us, get him from around us. You got to have people that really care for you in your corner, because you have a lot of friends that's yes men. Like, you may do something, you know it's wrong, but they going to be like, yeah, bro, let's do this. Like, nah, man, that ain't right. But you need somebody that you may not want to hear it, but you know that deep and down they're right. You're like, man, you right. You may want to fight them at the moment, but when you get by yourself, you're like, you know what, you was right. I ain't gonna tell you that, but I'm gonna listen to you. You need somebody in your corner that's gonna help you to keep you on that right track, because there's a lot of friends around you for the moment or for the money. That's it. And you gotta learn to separate that.
On the next, The Journey with LaMarr Woodley.
There's always life after anything that you're going through. I had become a single mother with 2 children. I said, I have to do this. And I said, I'm going to LA for 2 weeks and I'm coming back with a record deal.